Olá, esse é mais um vídeo do Guia de Worldbuilding e hoje o vídeo vai ser um pouco diferente. Eu legendei trechos de duas entrevistas do George R. R. Martin, o autor das Crônicas de Gelo e Fogo, em que ele fala sobre a importância do worldbuilding. A primeira é mais recente, do ano passado, e se você é um escritor de fantasia, recomendo prestar muita atenção nas palavras dele. Ao fim do vídeo, vou falar sobre algumas questões abordadas pelo Martin e sobre os desafios do escritor contemporâneo. Mas vamos à entrevista.
My stories have actually, throughout my career, if I look back, have been getting longer and longer. As I said, when I began in the 70s, I wrote mostly short stories. And then at a certain point, my short stories were getting longer. They were now novelettes. And then when I won my first Hugo, it was for a novella. So each of these is a longer category than the other. And then eventually, 6, 7 years into my career, I started writing novels. But they were relatively short novels. And at some point along the way, for my sins, I found myself writing Game of Thrones, and it just kept getting longer and longer and longer. But I like it. I think the length gives it a richness, gives it a texture. You can create world building. You can create an immersive world, an immersive universe that the readers will lose themselves in for the length of the novel, and perhaps for many novels beyond that, many works, and I like that. There was a yesterday when we attended the awards ceremony, they were flashing quotations about writing on the walls of the site where the awards were being presented, and one of them was a quote that I wrote for a book called On Fantasy. It was about when I die, they can keep their heaven. I'd rather go to Middle-earth. And Tolkien was the first really great world builder. He created Middle-earth in such detail that it seems like a real place to me. I mean, I know Middle-earth much more than I know many real places. You know, what do I know about Uruguay? I know a lot more about Middle-earth than I do about Uruguay. I can describe its scenic wonders and the different customs of its people, and you know, the roads that go from there to there, and some of the kings who have ruled over it in past ages.
And the languages and the geography,
Right,
topography.
it's an amazing place, and I've tried to do the same with Westeros. That's one of the things that I think is important about writing fantasy, epic fantasy. There are many different types of fantasy, of course. Is if any of you are aspiring writers or ever took fiction courses or studied fiction in high school or college or something like that, they used to, at least in my day, talk about the elements of fiction, you know, plot, theme, character, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the elements of fiction was setting. But in most mainstream fiction, contemporary fiction, setting gets short shrift. It's, okay, it's in Chicago. And okay, it's in New York City, or even it's in Victorian England. We know all about that. But the greatest fantasy, to my mind, is distinguished by its settings. The setting becomes almost a character. Middle-earth becomes a real place and becomes a character. The Shire, Rivendell, Minas Tirith, Mordor, each of these is very vivid and real. And I tried to do the same with my own Westeros. Create a setting that was almost a character in its own right.
Well, the devil is in the details, they say. I love the details. I think the details make the books immersive, and that's what I want as a writer, and that's also what I want as a reader when I read a book. This almost gets into a lecture that I sometimes give at writers' conferences, but let me just touch on the high points of it here. You know, why do we read fiction? What is it that attracts us to reading these stories about lands that don't exist and people who don't exist and conflicts that never happened? What's the appeal of fiction? To my mind, it's vicarious experience. I think we live through fiction. I look back on the books that I read when I was young, Lord of the Rings. I remember the Council of Elrond. I remember Sam and Frodo making their way across the plains of Moria. I remember these events almost as if they happened to me. I remember the fog on the Barrow Downs. These things have become part of my memory now. I read these when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I don't remember what I had for dinner the night that I read about the Council of Elrond. I don't remember who sat behind me in my junior high school class, or who sat in front of me, or I'd even have to think back to try to figure out who the hell the teacher was, and I probably wouldn't be successful. So which of these is really part of my life? Which is it as I live, not to get all existential? Well, I think it's the things that we incorporate, it's the things that we remember. All of us as human beings are sums of our memories, and our lives, when we live our lives and we reflect our lives, vicarious experience can be just as important as real experience. And that's why I've been known to say that a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies, while the man who does not read lives only one. And I think that's true. As a reader, I've climbed mountains, I've visited other planets, I've dove to the bottom of the sea, I've sailed the Spanish Main and fought pirates. I've loved 1,000 beautiful women. I've died. I've had children. I've had all these experiences that I've never had in real life, and yet they're part of me, and they've made my life immensely richer. So that's what I want to do for my reader. I want, when you're finished with my books, I want you to feel that you lived those books, not that you simply read some words on a page. So I want to immerse you in the world, and details are part of that. Details are probably the most essential part of that. You read some of these modern writers, and they're like page turners, the John Grishams of the world, the James Pattersons of the world. There's nothing but dialogue. They almost read like screenplays. Two guys talking in an office. They never describe the office. They never describe what they're doing. A guy walks into a bar. You never see the bar. I mean, there are bars and bars. There are fern bars and there are dive bars, and every bar is different, and some bars are unique. I don't want that kind of fiction, and I don't want to give my readers that kind of fiction. I want you to see the place and smell the place and taste the food, and I want it to be as real as if you were living the book. And that's why I put so much detail in. And I recognize that this is not for everybody. This is, some people do not value that in fiction. Some people, I've had people tell me that they skim over all the details. Oh, well, that boring descriptive part. I don't want, just get on with the story, Well, fine, but those people can read James Grisham, there's lots of writers out there for those people who don't want the immersive experience, who obviously get something else out of their fiction than what I want out of fiction and what I'm trying to provide to my readers.
Então, essa segunda entrevista ficou na minha cabeça. A escrita do Martin nem é tão descritiva assim se compararmos com o Tolkien, por exemplo. A literatura de fantasia mudou, e coitado daquele que tentar escrever como o Tolkien. Se você pulou partes do vídeo ou assistiu em velocidade acelerada, isso é uma prova de que as pessoas hoje se comportam de maneira diferente. Não temos tanta paciência. Não estou condenando ninguém, eu também faço muito isso. Mas é a mesma coisa com os leitores. Eu não chamaria o leitor contemporâneo de mais exigente, mas ele é certamente o mais impaciente. Isso transcende a literatura, é uma questão presente em todas as mídias. Você escutaria uma ópera inteira? O Anel dos Nibelungos, de Wagner, tem cerca de 15 horas de duração. É uma tetralogia de óperas. As pessoas iam 4 noites para ver a obra inteira. Você assistiria de uma vez e o vento levou, ou Lawrence da Arábia? Ou um exemplo mais recente, o Irlandês, da Netflix? No caso da música, muitas transformações aconteceram durante o século XX. Nos anos 60, para se ter um hit, a música deveria ter entre 2 e 3 minutos. Procure pelo sucesso dos Beatles ou dos Rolling Stones, a maioria tem esse tempo. Foi também nessa época que o ritmo do cinema acelerou, com cenas cheias de corte e uma cadência de acontecimentos mais rápida. Compare os antigos filmes de Mad Max com o mais recente. A diferença é gritante. Atualmente, filmes longos como Vingadores Ultimato precisam ter muita ação e acontecimentos. O começo do filme foi justamente criticado por usar quase 1 hora construindo o clima, em um ritmo incomum nos filmes da Marvel, mas que foi importante para dar o peso à trama.
And I was better because of it.
Os diretores de cinema hoje são muito prejudicados pelos executivos que exigem filmes compactos, focados em ação, com pouco tempo de tela para desenvolvimento de personagem e ambientação, muitas vezes cortando partes importantes da história. Os executivos não são malvados, eles respondem ao que a audiência quer. O caso da literatura é mais complicado ainda. Alguns acreditam que com o crescimento do audiovisual, capaz de mostrar o mundo em detalhes, o papel da literatura mudou, que não deveria focar em descrições e ambientação. Eu tenho uma opinião diferente. A imersão que eu tenho lendo um livro é muito diferente de quando consumo audiovisual. Não há substituto para a leitura. Como que um escritor vai ser capaz de criar imersão e ao mesmo tempo fisgar esse leitor distraído? Alguns diriam que o leitor de fantasia hoje busca ação. Mas o quê? Justamente o gênero mais preocupado com worldbuilding e imersão? Claro que os tempos de Tolkien passaram e não podemos mais emular esse tipo de escrita. Mas como Martin falou, temos que descobrir o que queremos da ficção e que tipo de experiência queremos fornecer para o leitor. Considerando as exigências desse mercado concorrido, o desafio do escritor contemporâneo é encontrar um equilíbrio. Curiosamente, esse é o vídeo mais longo do canal. Se você chegou até aqui, deixe aí nos comentários o que pensa sobre tudo isso. Não esquece do like e de se inscrever se não for inscrito. Agora fique com um pouco de Tolkien.
I've always smoked. I sometimes smoke beyond the point when you enjoy it, which is silly, but I do smoke and enjoy it. And as a matter of fact, it's now so tied to writing that I can't write without it.